Business and management expert from the Outlier Group, Jasmine O'Reilly. Morning, Jasmine. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for doing this. Now, let's talk about the younger generations. We hear lots of comments about what generation we're talking about here? Gen Z, as we would say. The Yanks would say Gen Z, wouldn't they?
Yes, Gen Z, Gen Z, even the millennials. And, they get a lot of flack, Mike, as has been the dawn of time, the younger generations.
Well, I remember seeing a reproduction of something written on a wall in Rome when it was at its peak several thousand years ago, and it was talking about young people. They're lazy and they have no respect for their elders, and basically what's going to come of our society. So we're still asking those questions, aren't we?
Of course. I think every generation likes to look down on the younger generations, but they get older too. So, yes, right now we are talking about our Gen Zs and our millennials. And did you know, Mike, in workplaces today we have 4 generations in the workplace. So not just the young ones, we've got our X's and our baby boomers as well.
Yes, that's true. And there's such a variety of experience there with those generations, isn't there?
There most certainly is, and the world has changed a little bit, and
That's
there's a
what I
bit of a
mean,
changing
yeah.
of the guard happening. Yeah, so our baby boomers, or our eldest in the workforce, they're so close, if not already retired, and our Gen Xers, who I always thought were quite young in the workforce, did you know that the eldest of the Gen X are now turning 60 this year? So
Good
they're in their
God.
twilight years as well. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Little upstarts, yeah. Uh, so what are we going to say about their application when it comes to keeping the wheels of industry going, if that's what we're talking about, or keeping a quality of life going? Are they really pulling their weight, the younger folk? I mean, I don't mean the Gen Xers, the crowd that's what now somewhere between 18 and say 33, 34?
Yeah, even up to about 45 are
Really?
the eldest of the millennials.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they most certainly are pulling their weight. And I think what's interesting for the older generations is they do value different things. And it's easy to say, oh, they've got it all wrong. But actually, there's a lot that they're doing right in the younger generations. And full disclosure, Mike, I am a millennial, so I'm very biased myself.
I
But
see. You're
maybe
coming
we
from
can
a
talk about
particular
some of the
point of
good stuff.
view, yeah?
Yeah. So I can definitely share my own experience, but also managing teams of all sorts of generations. There is a place for everyone, and there's some really good things that particularly our youngest generation, Gen Zs, are bringing into workplaces that actually benefit everybody, not just their own generation.
So what are they bringing in that's good then?
Yes. So maybe let's start with, I guess, the difference in the mindset. So what people generally like to say about our older generations, our boomers and our X's, is that work for them was more of that command and control model, so to speak. So very much that mantra of tell me what to do and I will do it. And
Yeah.
they're very good at that, still very good at that. But our younger 2 generations, millennials and our Zs, that's more of a mantra of tell me why are we doing this thing, and give me a little bit of space to work, to think of something that's valuable and sustainable for the whole organisation. So they really value having flexibility, being able to have a voice, and having trust in their leaders, in their team, and in the organisation. So there's lots of wins to be had. That's what they value, but I've got a few tips, if you'd like to hear them, Mike, of what we can do to sort of adapt to the superpowers of the Gen Zs. Would you like to hear them?
Yes, I would. Life tips are always good. I just want to make one quick point. Apparently, the pre-war crowd, they were very keen to get approval, and some of them, at least, some that I've encountered over the years, they equate approval with money. But what we're talking about, it seems, is a generation here who, wonderful cliche, but maybe some value in it, the work-life balance. But anyway, tell me the tips.
Yes, we'll get to that one, actually. There's a good one of values-based leadership, but that's my tip number 2. So let's start with tip number 1, and this is for leaders or organisations out there. What our younger generations value is an environment where there's two-way communication. So less of that tell me what to do, more let's have a chat about it. And they like to feel heard, and I'm saying this on behalf of our younger generations, but I think everybody kind of likes to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And when people have that feeling of being heard and having the voice, what the studies and the stats tell us is that they're about 4.6, that's a very precise number, 4.6 times more likely to feel empowered to do their best work, which is, again, good for everyone.
Yeah.
They're 2 times more likely to stay at an organisation during a disruptive period. And anyone that's been in business for a long time knows there's a lot of them that happen. And they're 60% less likely to experience sustained burnout, which is a real problem in Australia at the moment. We've got a lot of people who are burnt out and who are, stressed. So
But that's kind of a new thing. I mean, there was an era where you couldn't be burnt out. You had to keep on doing it.
That's right. Push on, keep hustling, as they say.
Yeah.
But that's not where the world we live in today, unfortunately. Right. So, two-way communication, which is, you can turn that on overnight if you're not already doing that as a leader in your workplace and any workplace. This will work in. My second tip, which is the one that you touched on before, Mike, was, we're moving away from that sort of KPI-driven performance metrics in the workplace to values-based leadership, as I mentioned. And really interesting that you brought this up, because I was going to mention this to you tonight, that did you know, and Deloitte did a study of this, that having purpose is as important to our younger generations than how much money they get paid in their careers.
That's interesting,
so,
yes.
Yeah, they will hop around, even to take less money sometimes, for a job that means something to them, that they feel like they can contribute to. And I think that's a real shift, particularly, some of those generations before us, they, wanting to climb, wanting to earn more, to provide to their family. Well, that's, balance is key now. So I found that very interesting.
What's your third thing?
The third thing is, and again, disclaimer, I am not a psychologist by any means, but there's a big buzzword at the moment of psychological safety, which is quite important. So reframing, I suppose, what vulnerability and accountability looks like in the workplace and creating that space of safety. So when workers, any worker, as I mentioned, feels like they have the safety in their team and with their leader to voice opinions, to innovate, to maybe have a different opinion, then they're going to feel good. They're going to feel more engaged in the workforce, and they're actually going to think of some really cool creative solutions, and they're going to stick around. So again, win-win-win if people are feeling like they're working in a safe environment. So our younger generations, they're more likely to speak up. They're more likely to want to have that two-way dialogue, but everybody benefits, Mike.
Let me spring something on you. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to handle it. I was reading a story today about a woman who was invited via email to a team-building lunch by her manager, right? Yeah. And she said, that sounds good, I'll be in that. But it turned out the manager was using it as a don't be caught with fishing exercise, and she and the rest of them were in for a 3-hour lecture on you've got to be very careful with dealing with the email. Now, that to me does not seem like reasonable behavior, but is that the kind of thing that younger people are being put through now?
I think so. And if we think about that, trust is so important to them, and having transparency and that two-way communication, that would be a huge violation. I think people would be very upset about that. I think anybody would, but particularly the younger generations, that wouldn't sit well, Mike.
Some of the things you mentioned there, have always been good thinking. I remember reading something years ago that stayed with me when it comes to management, which is the Rumour River runs both ways. So if you want to know what's really going on with the crew, then you better listen and be in on the conversation. Otherwise, there's going to be stuff happen that you didn't know anything about, but everybody was waiting for it to occur.
Oh, absolutely. And, that old adage of, keep your mouth shut is not the case anymore. Silence is bad. You want people to speak up. You want your employees to feel safe enough to say, that there is no rumours. They're saying the thing to your face, so that you could jump on it straight away and get straight onto it. So, we need to build environments like that. And full disclaimer, it's really hard. It's really hard to do that, and it's tricky being a leader in 2026.
But the aim is still to extract maximum productivity, even though the drivers and techniques may be different.
Absolutely, and it all comes down to engagement. And I don't know if we've spoken about engagement much before, Mike, but it's at an all-time low all around the world. But in Australia, only 23% of people feel like they are engaged, and it has these terrible flow-on effects to productivity. Absenteeism is the worst it's ever been. Turnover is the worst it's ever been.
Wow.
Quiet quit. I think we've talked about quiet quitting before. People are not productive, so when they're feeling engaged, you're getting a better result. It's good for the bottom line.
Well, we better do something about it, Jasmine. I think you better see me in my office after lunch.
Yes. Let's get straight on to that, Mike.
Okay, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, Mike. Talk to you next time.
Jasmine O'Reilly, business and management expert from the Outlier Group.